The Bible, let me just use the New Testament for example. We have 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament. 5,000 manuscripts of the Greek New Testament. Okay? Can we compare those 5,000? Have we got means and mechanisms? There's a guy down at Princeton, that's all he's done for his life for like 60, 70 years, is study these manuscripts. I'm not kidding. Bruce Metzger is his name. The guy's incredible. He studied these manuscripts all over the world and stuff and put them together. 5,000 manuscripts, okay? We know about them. They're codified and all that kind of stuff. Tell me, have you ever heard a guy named Plato? I forget his last name. Plato. Plato also wrote back then. How many manuscripts do we have of Plato? We've got 5,000 in the New Testament. How many manuscripts you got of Plato? Yeah, you probably got 7 to 13 manuscripts of Plato. Oh, you say Aristotle. Has anybody ever seen the Aristotelian texts? Okay, they're about this thick and stuff. Aristotle, big guy, logic, rhetoric, that stuff. Aristotle. No, it was really important stuff. Nicomachean Ethics. I just worked through that a little bit ago. It's a wonderful text. Aristotle's quite a guy. You know how many manuscripts we have of Aristotle? Under 20. How many do we have in the New Testament? 5,000. How many do we have of Aristotle? 120. Do you see the comparison? Is the Bible, is the New Testament better established than any book on the face of this planet? And there is no close second, okay? Do you realize, not only do we have early manuscripts that the King James writers in 1611 didn't have, that we've got, they've got a thing called papyrus, and we've got a papyrus called P52, papyrus number 52, and it has part of the book of John on it, and guess when this papyrus dates from? First of all, when did John die? The Apostle John. Did he live into the 90s? The 90s AD. We've got a piece of the book of John from within 30 years of when John lived. Within 30 years when the man lived, we've got a piece of papyri from Egypt of the book of John. Is that pretty incredible? Tell me what other book has that kind of stuff back 2,000, 3,000 years ago. No, it's unique. Okay? There's a guy named Dan Wallace. Okay, I taught with this guy for a couple of years when I was at Grace and stuff. Wallace is a Greek freak. You know, like you have geeks of technology Greek. He's like a geek of Greek. Okay? And he's got all bushy black hair, dark black hair, and he's growing this beard now. He's got this big old beard, bushy beard, and he looks like he's really Greek. And he's even got like Greek black robes and stuff, and he's wearing his beard now, and he's going weird. I mean, this is like, you know what he's doing? Dan Wallace has found that there's a manuscript in Istanbul, over where Constantinople is, and some of these monk guys in Greek. He's going like he's Greek. Is he going over there so he can find this manuscript? He knows it's there. Does the rest of the world know about this manuscript? No. Nobody's seen this manuscript. He's going over there trying to pry it out of their hands. And so he's getting all Greeked up. And he's going to go over there, and I'm Greek. I'd fit right into this monastery thing. And he's going after that manuscript. That's the honest truth. You'd have to know this guy. I hope he doesn't pack any heat on him and stuff. But I swear he'll get pictures of it or something. But he's going after it. I mean, he has thought about this a long time. And he's worked at it. I think he's been over there and talked to them, and he's trying to develop friendships with them. By the way, why does he have to do that? Because the manuscript Sinaiticus was found at what place? Sinaiticus was found at Mount Sinai, St. Catherines Monastery. Do you realize what the guy did in the 1800s? He went out and stole the manuscripts from the monks. Are the monks still mad about that to this day? No, you guys laugh. I'm serious. I've been in St. Catherines Monastery. They remember that forever. They know that their manuscript got stolen. Now, by the way, on my part, am I glad that they stole it? Yeah, actually, because it was sitting in this monastery. Do you realize what they were doing with some of these manuscripts? The monks were burning the pages of the manuscripts to stay warm. Now, question, is that a problem? Do you realize these manuscripts are like some of the best in the world? And they were burning the manuscript to stay warm. I'm glad the guy stole them, okay? I'm sorry. But it just, okay. So, now, how do we correct for, we've got all these manuscripts. How do you correct for all the differences? How do you correct for all the differences in the manuscripts? Now, by the way, can you guys do that? You don't read Greek and Hebrew, so you can't do that, okay? Does somebody else who's an expert like a Bruce Metzger or do that kind of comparison of manuscripts? Then what happens is they put together a Greek text or a Hebrew text, and then that's published, and then guys like me read it. And by the way, in the footnotes, will they tell you in the footnotes the various readings? Yes, they do. It's very handy. In the footnotes, you can see all the manuscripts and things like that. Now, how do we correct for all this stuff? And why didn't God preserve it perfectly? The answer is we don't know why God does what he does. Okay, we don't know. I'm going to make up something here. And so for this, I'm going to walk over here because this is me making this up. Several other people have suggested this. A lot of people hold this. Why didn't God preserve his word perfectly? Could he have preserved it perfectly? Is there any manuscripts that's perfect? Is there any manuscript that's perfect? We don't know because all we've got is manuscripts that come from 100 years afterwards. And we've got to compare manuscript with manuscript. We don't know even if we had it. Do the manuscripts have errors? Yes, they do. Some of the scribes, you realize in the margin, some of the scribes put, this is the honest truth. He says, it is so cold in here that my ink is freezing up on me. Now question, do you write well when you are freezing like that? No. And so these scribes had really hard conditions and things, and so I don't fault the scribes. They did the best they could. They didn't have spell check and word and that kind of thing. But let's go back. Why didn't God preserve it? The suggestion is, if God had preserved his perfect word like the Ten Commandments and left it in a box, what would people do to that box? What would they do to those Ten Commandments? They'd end up worshiping the relic. Do human beings make relics out of that kind of stuff? They would worship the relic rather than the God behind, the Ten Commandments. And so I think that he purposely had his word lost to say, I want you worshiping me, not some text. I want you worshiping me. And so therefore the text is lost. There's no relic because it's, you got manuscript and manuscript. Yes, ma'am.
Say somewhere about God's trying to play the prophets, and he's like, the Ark of the Covenant looks superior.
No. Yeah, I don't think in the Bible and stuff. It might have been in Indiana Jones, but not in the Bible. Yeah. But anyways, okay. Scribal errors. Do we know the types of errors scribes make? Yes, we do. Here's one. Genesis chapter 10, verse 4. What's the difference between that letter and that letter? First of all, can you see that there's a difference? Yes. What's the difference? Does everybody see the little bump on the end of that one? That's a tittle. Does anybody remember a jot and tittle? That's a tittle. This is a D. This is an R. Do you think the scribes ever confused D and R? Did you see how close those are? Let me give you an example. This guy's name is Dodanim. You got them all memorized from Genesis chapter 10 with all those names. The guy's name is Dodanim. But if you look in some of your Bibles, it won't say Dodanim, it will say Rodanim. Do you see that the R and D have been confused? So was his name Dodo or was his name Rodo? Okay? And the problem is the letter looks so similar that they confuse letters like that. Okay? The D and the R get confused. Now we know that's a problem, so can we correct for that? Yes, we can. Comparing manuscripts, you expect that. Here's another one. Let me just do this to you in English. Sometimes they spoke manuscripts so that, what's the advantage of doing an oral manuscript? Like I would be up here reading, in the beginning was the Word, or in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Copy this down. What's the advantage? From one manuscript I could produce in this class, how many? 100. You see the advantage of doing it orally? But what's the problem orally? Here's the problem orally. Write down the word for me orally, the word there. What's the problem? You got T-H-E-R-E. You got T-H-I-E-R. Or E-I-R. How many of you have typed it? Okay, I-E-R. Okay, and how many of you have got T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E? There, their book, okay? Or they are here, okay? Now, let me just do Psalm 100 as an example of that. In the King James Version of Psalm 100, it'll say, make a joyful noise to the Lord, come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and lo anachnu, and not we ourselves. It is he that has made us, and not we ourselves. Does anybody remember hearing that? It is he that has made us, and not we ourselves. Lo anachnu. That's the King James. If you look in your NIV and most modern translations, you'll see it's like this. Make a joyful noise to the Lord. Come before his presence. Okay. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and we, lo anachnu. It is he that hath made us, and we are his. Is that very different than not we ourselves, and we are his? You know how those are pronounced? And not we ourselves, lo anachnu. You know how and we are his is pronounced? Lo anachnu. What's the difference? Lo anachnu, lo anachnu. Tell me which one's which one. You can't. Yeah, lo anaknu. He said it right. Okay, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's lo anaknu. But it can be taken as not we ourselves. That's the way the King James translates it. And we are his is the way most modern translations, because we understand more poetry.